So for those that are clinking silverware, you're on the right track. Please begin to enjoy your salads. We're going to do some introductions. Our chair, Katie Harvey, and Marina Gonzalez, the CEO and president of the San Antonio Hispanic Chamber, are traveling and are unable to join us today, but they wanted to express their support for this great event. It's now my distinct honor to introduce the individuals seated at the head table. We'll see how we do on listening skills. Please hold your applause till I've introduced everyone. Our guest of honor, Mayor Ron Nirenberg, joined by his wife and First Lady of San Antonio, Erica Prosper Nirenberg. Kevin Dinnan, CEO of First Day Foundation, joined by his wife, Becky Dinnan. J.R. Trevino, Chair of the Board of the San Antonio Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. Luisa Caso with the San Antonio Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. Willie Ng, Alamo Asian American Chamber of Commerce President. Elva Adams, Alamo Asian American Chamber of Commerce Educational Foundation President. Edwin Miles, Alamo City Black Chamber of Commerce President, and Paula Miles. You met Reverend Ann Helmke, and last but certainly not least in any of our minds, Eric Walsh, City Manager of the City of San Antonio. Now we can clap. Please welcome to the stage Elva Adams of the Alamo Asian American Chamber of Commerce and Edwin Miles of the Alamo Black City Chamber of Commerce to the stage.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. So Mr. Miles and I would like to recognize our event sponsors today. Without their support, today's signature event would not be possible. Our presenting sponsors, First Day Foundation, Platinum sponsor, Via Metropolitan Transit,
Gold sponsors, Sant Construction Incorporated. Our silver sponsors are First American Credit Union, New Star, PNC, Southwest Airlines Company. Please join me in giving all of our sponsors a round of applause.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Board Chair of the San Antonio Hispanic Chamber of Commerce and Mayor of Castle Hills, J.R. Trevino.
Good afternoon. Thank you for that kind introduction. Is this mine? I think this is not mine. Okay. We have a number of elected officials here today, and I wanted to recognize them. Please hold your applause as you've done so well so far. We have our guest of honor, the birthday boy, Mayor Ron Nirenberg, Bexar County Tax Assessor Albert Uresti, Bexar County Sheriff Javier Salazar, Bexar County Commissioner Justin Rodriguez, Bexar County Commissioner Grant Moody, San Antonio City Councilman Mario Bravo, San Antonio Councilwoman Phyllis Villagran, San Antonio Councilwoman Dr. Adriana Rocha Garcia, Councilwoman Melissa Cabello Haverda, and San Antonio Councilman Manny Pelaez. I think we also have a couple other elected officials are appointed to Fernando Reyes, Board Chair with VIA, and Mary Lou Reyna, SAWS Trustee, Eduardo Parra, SAWS Trustee as well. We would be remiss to not recognize the other elected officials who are leaders and volunteers on local boards throughout our community and educational system. If you serve on a community board or educational board, we'd like for you to please stand and be recognized. Thank you for your service. We're now going to take a 15-minute break and let you enjoy your lunches today. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll get started with the speaking portion of our afternoon. I apologize for the very quick turn, but we got started a couple minutes late, so we'll try to make it up and get people out of here. First off, I would like to thank Kevin Dinnan and the First Day Foundation for their presenting sponsorship of this year's United State of the City. I've known Kevin for a long time, but every time I see him, I feel like I learned something new about First Day Foundation and the good work they are supporting throughout the world. Through the diverse nonprofits they work with and through those they give to, lives are being lifted up all around us. Whether it's through emergency response in natural disasters, COVID-19, or mass tragedies, or work with human trafficking survivors, homeless youth, and adults with developmental disabilities, to caring for Ukrainian women and children who fled their home country a year ago, leaving their husbands and adult sons behind to fight the war against Russia. You don't read their names in the headlines, but the organizations supported by First Day Foundation are lifesavers. The Chamber is grateful for our friendship and support from First Day Foundation. I ask that you please join me in welcoming Kevin Dinnan to the stage.
Those are extremely kind words. I want to thank you for your presence today. Today is an important day in the history of this city because we pause today to not only recognize leadership and the good things that will be bestowed upon us going forward because of able leadership, but because your presence here today also represents your personal care for the quality of life that we enjoy in San Antonio. So I personally thank you for your presence. First Day Foundation is very pleased to help host and sponsor today's event. We all know Mayor Nirenberg. We know how important he has been to this community in many respects. But I want to make it very personal and very sincere today when I extend my personal appreciation to Mayor Ron for the leadership to this community, particularly over the last 3 years. And while he may be in his third term, for those of us that were behind the scenes and dealing 3 years ago at this time with the uncertainty of a global pandemic, dealing with the health aspects of that, and having interfaced with CDC, state health, and local health, I want you to know that behind the scenes, it was scarier than most who were watching TV, in my judgment, realized. It was something that we had not faced before in our lifetime. And some of the discussions that I had privileged to be a part of, it was frankly quite alarming because we didn't know what we didn't know. And we didn't have the right tools in the toolbox. And I've said this before about our mayor, but I cannot tell you how personally I value the leadership that you provided to this community and the people of this larger geographic area every night for months and months and months. You and Judge Wolf presented yourselves in a very calm yet informative fashion for the people of this community. And, sir, that's leadership. There are a lot of politicians in this community. There are a few statesmen. There are many managers, but there are a few leaders. You epitomize both. And I'm grateful that you're our mayor, Mayor Ron Nirenberg.
Good afternoon. Y'all awake? Thank you very much, Kevin, for the kind introduction. It has been yet another eventful year since we last met for the State of the City address. And as I close out my third term, Like you, I'm struck by how quickly time has passed. Projects that once seemed a dream are now underway. My son Jonah is now in high school. I'm told that my hair has turned gray. Incidentally, my wife mentioned a slight recession a couple years ago, and she wasn't talking about the economy. But seemingly existential political battles have come and gone. New community issues continually emerge, and through all the push and pull of debate, through the messy process of democracy in action, through endless distractions, the people of San Antonio have kept their eyes on the ball. As a city, we have displayed remarkable unity and shared commitment to one another. We've stayed focused on long-running, formidable problems such as workforce development, housing, and transportation, and we've made real progress on economic mobility for all of our residents. I salute the people of San Antonio for their vision and steadfast resolve. The accomplishments we'll speak of today are their accomplishments, and we can expect the same kind of unity as we face the new challenges moving forward. I want to thank my City Council colleagues for their hard work and dedication. We've made a lot of progress and some significant decisions in this term. I also want to recognize City Manager Eric Walsh. Eric and his team have demonstrated a determined commitment to responsible stewardship of your tax dollars while managing a daunting array of programs and services. And of course, I wouldn't be here without my wife, partner, and best friend, Erica Prosper, who inspires me every day, and my son Jonah, who is the reason why I entered public service in the first place. Because I want him and his peers to be able to choose San Antonio, even if they would be able to live anywhere else in the world. But first, I want to start with one of our oldest and strongest partners in our city, the military. Not only is the military a great partner with deep social and economic roots in our community, they're also the top employer in the region and contribute close to $40 billion annually to the local economy and approximately $114 billion to the Texas economy. Military City USA has partnered with JBSA to overcome some of the most daunting challenges in our history. Some of those challenges, including life-saving logistics support to our residents during Winter Storm Uri, and our close cooperation with BAMC at the onset of COVID-19. In the past year, we've continued to fund the Military Spouse Fellowship Program, administered a multi-million-dollar state grant supporting JBSA infrastructure. We enhanced our Ready to Work program to include military veterans and spouses, and we're united, and we remain united in solving child care challenges faced by military families. And soon, I'm confident that we will have an agreement to provide EMS services to Camp Bullis and Fort Sam Houston. Currently, we're working together at the Texas legislature to protect our military installations from urban encroachment and loss of training areas. And I'm pleased to report that our joint testimonies and advocacy efforts have produced results. So I'd like to take a moment to thank and recognize the uniformed leaders who are here from Military City USA. Please hold your applause while I introduce them all. Bob Nathan, Deputy to the Commanding General, U.S. Army North, 5th Army. Major General William Prendergast, Deputy Commanding General, National Guard, U.S. Army North, 5th Army. Brigadier General Russell Driggers, Commander of Joint Base San Antonio. Brigadier General Deidre Hayden, Commanding General, Brooke Army Medical Center. Captain Gerald DeLong, representing Navy Medical Research Unit, San Antonio. Chief Master Sergeant, Sergeant Casey Boomershine, Command Chief, Joint Base San Antonio. Sergeant Major John E. Dobbins, Command Sergeant Major of Brooke Army Medical Center. Senior Chief Hospital Corpsman David C. Snow, Senior Enlisted Leader for Naval Medical Research Unit, San Antonio. I'm also told that Joe Bray is here, who is our civilian aide to the Secretary of the Army. Please give them all a round of applause. As you've heard me state, the military is in our DNA. Our civilian residents share and exude the military spirit of service and of sacrifice. Thank you for supporting San Antonio and for your contributions to our national security. Let's all show our gratitude every day to our military leaders, our veterans, and the men and women in uniform across the nation. And I know we'll strengthen our relationship and continue to do so. Our city's military leader, retired Marine General Juan Ayala, and his department stand ready to support your missions, your installations, and your families. So please continue to call on him. It's always a pleasure to be here and see JBSA leadership breaking bread with our community and the businesses. Demonstrating our valued partnership at the United Chambers State of the City Luncheon. So thank you to the Alamo Asian Chamber of Commerce, the Alamo City Black Chamber, the Hispanic Chamber, and the San Antonio Chamber for hosting this event. Your continued partnership is essential for the future success of our city, and I'm grateful for your commitment and for your dedication. It was good to see so many of you in our community, representing our community in Washington during the SA to DC trip this year. The annual State of the City address is a time to assess how we're doing and where we're going. In previous years, I've come to the stage discussing plans and proposals for housing, transportation, and workforce development. For the most part, the talking on those issues is over. This year, we are focused on implementation. And I can attest that the state of the city is poised for takeoff as we gain momentum and invest in the people in San Antonio. We continue to feel some of the impact from the pandemic, but our economy has recovered quickly and has shown remarkable resilience. And while the rebound has not been smooth for everyone, San Antonio racked up a 46% increase in gross domestic product from 2017 to 2023. And the Keenan Institute of Private Enterprise has projected that San Antonio's economy will be the 5th fastest growing in the nation, in any city in the nation this year. Our unemployment rate is slightly above 4%, even as the Texas Workforce Commission reported that the San Antonio area labor force increased by more than 35,000 workers since February of 2022. Meanwhile, my city council colleagues and I have worked to ensure that our economy and our residents are positioned to weather future economic upheavals and also take advantage of opportunities. In the last year, City Council passed a balanced budget, the 6th one with an equity framework, as we continue pushing to increase opportunities for all San Antonians. And City Council approved the most significant tax relief for San Antonio residents in modern history. We increased the city's homestead exemption from less than 1% to 10%. We boosted the over 65 exemption from $65,000 to $85,000, and the disabled exemption from $12,500 to $85,000. And all of that was on top of the 1.67 cent property tax rate decrease. In total, City Council provided $95 million in tax relief just last year. The City Council also approved returning $50 million in credits back to CPS Energy ratepayers. And we approved a SAWS rate restructure that will lower monthly water bills for 83% of residential customers. Now, I've been talking to you about our housing affordability efforts since my very first State of the City speech as mayor. We saw the housing affordability crisis coming well before the pandemic, which only exacerbated the problem. Now, I'm happy to report that thousands of affordable housing units are on the way, in addition to our more focused policy portfolio to nurture the construction and preservation of affordable housing in our community. We placed a successful $1.2 billion bond package on the May 2022 ballot, including the first $150 million ever dedicated to housing affordability in San Antonio. Voters came out, and they approved all 6 bond proposals overwhelmingly. So thank you to the voters. Last month, we broke ground on the first affordable housing project using the housing bond funds at Los Arcos at Vida, a new development on the south side that will add over 300 affordable units to that area. There are dozens of projects in the pipeline under the first phase. City Council has approved 14 projects from the housing bond, which will produce or preserve nearly 2,500 rental units. And the second round of projects will be considered by Council this summer. America effort to reduce homelessness across the nation, San Antonio was the first to meet its goal of rehousing 1,500 households between November 2021 and December 2022. In fact, we were able to exceed our original goal by rehousing 1,880 families by the end of December 2022. Our work to move people off the streets will continue and be further accelerated by the $25 million included in the housing bond for permanent supportive housing to help people exit homelessness for good. These efforts represent significant strides toward boosting housing affordability through proven programs, methods, and partnerships that ultimately will enhance the quality of life for every resident in San Antonio. Important transportation work is underway too. In 2021, we approved the San Antonio International Airport Terminal Development Plan. At long last, and last month, airport staff unveiled the first design work for the ambitious $2.5 billion project, which will be funded with federal dollars as well as airline and passenger fees. In 2017, I created the Airport System Development Committee. A key goal was once and for all, ending the debate about where our airports should be located. Under the stewardship of John Dixon, the committee finally settled that question, determining that the San Antonio International Airport's current location is a strategic competitive advantage and has enough space for the expansion we'll need for the future. And now the design work is underway. The expanded enhanced SAT will be a welcoming airport that demonstrates our community's cultural attributes. Eric Walsh has noted that this will be the largest capital project in the history of San Antonio, and I know it will be one of the most significant. The airport project is a transformational move for San Antonio, a move that demonstrates to us and to the world where San Antonio is headed. The airport we dreamed of is finally on the way, and the anticipated opening date of that new terminal is the second quarter of 2028. The next step after that will include a second parallel runway. I want to recognize Airport Director Jesus Saenz and his team for their hard work on this project. We can't wait to see it come out of the ground. Let's give them a round of applause. And speaking of our transportation future, VIA has continued to move forward on the North-South Advanced Rapid Transit Line, which received $158 million proposed by President Biden in his fiscal 2023 budget. And more good news, $144 million for the East-West ART line has been included in the Federal Transportation Administration's funding recommendations for fiscal year 2024. This is a first step, but it's a critical one. At last, we are moving toward the modern transportation system we need. The doors were open for that federal funding when San Antonio voters approved moving an existing sales tax to VIA for the ART. That revenue will start flowing to VIA in 2026, but the approval of that permanent revenue stream for the dedicated lane project enabled VIA to go seek those federal dollars, and they responded. Meanwhile, bicyclists, joggers, and walkers are already enjoying increasing opportunities. The 2022 city bond package included $110 million for the Howard W. Peak Greenway Trail System, and on February 25th, we opened Mile 100 of the Greenway Trails. We're going to continue to build these trails. We make that very clear. We're going to complete the ring. We're going to bring equity and access so that every part of town enjoys these trails. And when we're done with the ring, we're going to continue to build spokes so neighborhoods and schools, retail centers and commercial centers all connect directly to this beautiful trail system. Some of our city's major employers also made exciting news in 2022. Navistar formally opened its Southside manufacturing plant last year, and big trucks started rolling off the assembly line. Toyota Motor Manufacturing Texas rolled out its new hybrid Sequoia in September, demonstrating how that company is using the $391 million in upgrades that were announced in 2019. I saw the Sequoia. It's a nice truck. Boeing began installing high-tech radar systems in the F-15E fighter jets at its San Antonio facility last year, adding to its dynamic growth and increasing diversified products at Port San Antonio. Boeing also increased its commitment to the community by investing $2.3 million in STEM education and also securing the naming rights for what is now the year-old crown jewel known as Boeing Center at Techport. And speaking of the ongoing progress at Port San Antonio, last month, Standard Aero, which has operated its maintenance and modernization facility at Port San Antonio for 20 years, announced that they were awarded the license to repair the newest commercial engines in the aviation industry, the LEAP engine, which powers the world's largest fleet of narrow-body aircraft. The license positions Standard Aero as the only non-airline LEAP repair location in America. The potential impact is enormous. I can't overstate it. This is a big deal. This announcement will result in the creation of many jobs at Port San Antonio, and the aircraft service life for the maintenance of these engines could span several decades. This contract will ensure that San Antonio has high-paying aircraft jobs for another generation. The quality jobs these employers are offering represent that bright future we're striving to ensure for San Antonio. And since I became mayor, Victory Capital, Pabst Brewing Company, Nisei American, DeLorean, they've all relocated their headquarters in San Antonio. More to come. While our unemployment rate is low, too many San Antonians still lack the career opportunities they deserve to raise their families and live the American dream here at home. As the pandemic highlighted, too many of our neighbors are still one missed paycheck away from financial disaster. The economic recovery has been welcome, but we know many of our neighbors need skills and careers that can withstand the next economic disruption. That's why in less than a year, nearly 13,000 people have applied for our Ready to Work program, which was crafted with extensive business community consultation and input. San Antonians want and need opportunities for jobs with a future. Jobs that will do more than just cover next month's bills. More than 2,000 residents have already enrolled in the Workforce Development Program, and more than 200 have successfully completed training already. Remember, Ready to Work follows our COVID-era Train for Jobs program, which has trained or is in the process of training more than 5,500 San Antonians and placed nearly 2,400 in better-paying jobs. And by helping our residents get on the pathway for higher-paying careers, we're creating a pipeline of trained workers that will help benefit local employers. Workforce development is not easy work. Launching the Ready to Work program has been a complex task, but I'm encouraged by the demand for training. And kudos to Mike Ramsey, the city's Executive Director of Workforce Development, for his steadfast leadership and management of this program. Mike, you're doing a fantastic job. We already received nearly $3 million from the U.S. Department of Labor for workforce development and had the opportunity to share the impact federal grants have on a community with former Labor Secretary Marty Walsh. I was thrilled to highlight the Ready to Work program and demonstrate our strong workforce ecosystem with employers and workforce providers when he visited. The Secretary told News 4, this program, there is no question, should be a model for the rest of the country. Ready to Work is already improving lives, and we're not going to be discouraged by a few bumps in the road. The task cannot be done overnight or already would have been, but there is an undeniable demand for better paying jobs in our community. When all's said and done, I'm confident that we will have improved thousands of lives, helped our city's employers, strengthened San Antonio's economy, and created a more robust workforce ecosystem. That's a smart investment. And as Ready to Work gains momentum, Pre-K for SA and Alamo Promise continue providing important educational opportunities for early childhood students and post-secondary students, providing additional support for our workforce pipeline. In fact, the Alamo Promise program will now provide for tuition-free community college to all Bexar County ISD high school graduates, all of them. Speaking of economic issues, Last summer, we approved the implementation plan for getting the American Rescue Plan Act dollars to San Antonio's small businesses. We've distributed more than $20 million in direct relief, financial relief, and another $10 million is in the pipeline for helping small businesses adjust to the post-pandemic marketplace. Our small businesses kept our city supplied with goods and services through the pandemic. When we needed to take strong public health measures to counter a global pandemic, much of this fell on our small business community, and they came through time and time again, but they paid a price. Reflecting on the hardships our small businesses and working families have endured convinced me that it was important to oppose Proposition A. In November, Judge Wolf and I, joined by Judge Sakai, convened local public agency CEOs to discuss opportunities for opening that procurement process to a wider array of minority-owned businesses. City staff now has been working with a dozen other public agencies to ensure that small businesses, including Latino and Black-owned firms, have an opportunity to participate in the more than $9 billion in spending locally on goods and services by government entities. In 2021, only 20% of those funds went to Latino and Black-owned firms. Through the Supply SA program, the agencies are now moving toward a universal application, procurement navigators, a one-stop shop, and other tools that will make it easier to secure public contracts and access the dollars flowing into our community and keep them here. This effort to align procurement priorities will not only benefit our small business ecosystem, it will help entrepreneurs build wealth. Our goal is for San Antonio families to thrive as a result. These systemic changes represent an intentional shift in how public agencies invest procurement dollars, and we're creating a playbook that can be replicated across the country through our existing partnership with the Aspen Institute. In January, the CPS Energy Board voted to phase out the use of coal for energy generation. We'll leave coal behind by 2028. I want to repeat that. We will leave coal behind by 2028. If you're counting, that's 35 years sooner than expected. The plan we approved calls for closing the Spruce 1 coal plant by 2028 and transitioning Spruce 2 to natural gas by 27, minimizing the burden on our ratepayers. The decision culminated in a months-long process by the Rate Advisory Commission, which we created earlier in my tenure. And in the process, we'll eliminate tons of carbon emissions even as we add generation capacity to the CPS Energy portfolio. The plan will add more than 4,900 megawatts of generation capacity, including new wind and solar capacity, as well as battery storage. Meanwhile, in September, CPS added an additional 180 megawatts of solar generation capacity, which followed an agreement to add 300 megawatts of solar in May. One report ranks San Antonio's solar capacity #1 in Texas and 5th in the nation, and climbing. And in addition to our aggressive steps towards cleaner power generation, the utility announced in February that it had weatherized 30,000 homes under the Casa Verde program, which was launched a decade ago to help low-income households reduce power consumption and save money on their energy bills. Moving forward, our STEP program, which reduced demand by 1,000 megawatts in Phase 1, will include weatherization efforts and other demand reduction strategies in its second phase. Before wrapping up, I want to emphasize that ensuring public safety remains a core mission, perhaps the most fundamental city function of all. Almost 2/3 of the city budget is dedicated to police and fire protection, for good reason, and we know those funds must be used wisely. Year after year, we have funded new police officer positions. During my tenure, we've added new neighborhood substations, improved the police training manual, and increased accountability. We created a violence prevention district within the Metro Health Department, added resources to address domestic violence incidents, and provided additional funds to support our community's mental health services. All those will continue to move forward. But just as San Antonio's victories haven't been realized only within our policy, military, and professional communities, on a lighter note, we're doing pretty good in sports, too. UTSA Roadrunners, University of Incarnate Cardinals, Trinity Tigers, they've all made our city accustomed to winning again. Add a San Antonio FC 2022 championship to that list, and it's hard to ignore the momentum we've earned on many fronts. So let's keep the momentum going, because it's that drive, shared by all, that has pushed this city toward greater equity and inclusiveness. We survived a global pandemic, and that same focused strength kept our economy intact and our unemployment low. We've pushed to become a city with a well-prepared workforce, ready for the economy of the future. I am confident in the state of our city, confident that San Antonio is becoming a city where my son Jonah and others of his generation will want to live, to build a career and raise a family. We're on a fruitful path. San Antonio is moving toward the bright future this city deserves. With your continued help, with our unity, we'll keep the momentum going. Thank you all very much.
Yeah, please. Please stay. Please stay, yeah. Pretty sure they're clapping for you, not me. If I could ask Kevin Dinnan to join us up here and my chamber colleagues to come join us on stage. So, Mayor, we have a token of appreciation for you, but we've asked some special guests to come help us present that token of appreciation. If our special guests could come forward, please. Our guests are actually the Fox Tech Advanced Learning Academy, Centers for Applied Science and Technology, mariachis. They're here. They're from 6th grade through 12th grade. I think a lot of the audience doesn't realize that today is not just State of the City, but this date is very important to the mayor. Today is the mayor's birthday.
So the mayor left the best speech for last. This concludes the event. You're dismissed.
We'll just form up over here probably, get out of the way of the stage.
Thanks so much.
Happy birthday. I'm gonna get right between you two so we'll all fit in.
There you go.
Really, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you
sir.
so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Yeah.
you.
I guess when everybody comes up, just take all the fun.
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate it.